Hey guys, welcome back. This is your host Phil from underKG.com, and this is the LG G7 ThinQ, or the larger storage and RAM mounted devices called the G7 ThinQ. No, sorry, G7 Plus ThinQ. Let's start with the design. The front facade is almost indistinguishable from the other devices nowadays that the wider display, the taller displays are so predominant. So you'll have to look on the back where you have dual cameras, fingerprint reader, and the logos and whatnot, finished with the glass, Gorilla Glass 5, front and back. And the fingerprint reader right there is not a power key anymore. Now there is a button on the side, and I'm a fan of this change. What I'm not a fan of is the new colors of the G7 ThinQ. The V3's original Moroccan blue was really nice. I loved it, but the new color series, new platinum gray, new Moroccan blue, are not really my thing. While the phone is comparatively light at 164 grams, this is mil-spec certified and IP68 water and dust resistant at the same time. Now the display you see here is not an OLED panel, but rather an LCD one. To be specific, it's an RGBW layout panel. It's not an M+ LCD, unlike LG's initial claim. Some folks have figured out that the layout does not include 3 subpixels per pixel. LG explained that they call any panels with the white subpixel as an M+ LCD, but then remove the term M+ from all of their specifications, so there's that. The panel itself doesn't look bad at all. It's Dolby Vision and HDR10 compatible, and first time ever, the screen color options are really good. The expert mode lets you tinker around saturation, hue, and even sharpness. And of course, there is some color options, color temperature, and red, green, and blue, each of them configurable by the user. But one interesting part that I found is it changes brightness dynamically. So even when you set the screen brightness manually and the screen color expert, when the content is mostly white, the screen gets brighter, and when the screen is filled up with the colors, the white tone gets darker and the colors pop out. Look at the yellow color on the messaging icon right there. This screen gets brighter, and as we go into screen with more colors, the screen gets darker while the colors pop out. There could be a good reasoning behind this, but once I noticed it, I could never let it go. The performance, on the other hand, is really good. It's got Snapdragon 845, the latest chipset, and 4 GB or 6 GB of RAM, running the whole system based on Android Oreo. So after killing all the apps, running a new one, closing it, and launching another one, say, and switching between the apps are really fast and snappy. There's a bit of heat on the back, but nothing major, as latest chipsets all have some sort of heat. But software is where I had most of the problems. And let's start with that notch on top. They call it the second screen, the new second screen, but there's nothing like the old second screen. You cannot launch apps, you cannot multitask, you cannot slide to launch a shortcut. It's just a notch with a different name. Yes, you can hide it by choosing a custom option right there. You can change the colors on the notch even to the rainbow. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you could, and change how round the corner of the screen is going to look like. But here's the caveat, it only works with the LG apps. Once you get into third-party apps or even like Google Play Store, that option to hide the notch gets disabled. I'm pretty sure that LG is going to fix it one day with further update, but it's really interesting that Huawei and OnePlus also has the notches on their phone, and their initial softwares let the notches be hidden, whether it be their own app or third-party apps. But then here's a lot larger company, LG, who couldn't do that on their initial software. And the bigger problem is the number of notification icons over there. You see that I got 3 right there, and once I make it into 4, you only see 2. And there is no battery percentage on the right-hand side corner. You have to swipe your notification bar down to see that. There's one way to fix it, that is the display size. You can make it smaller and you can see battery percentage and one more notification icon. But in any lower DPIs, you're gonna have less number of icons and no battery percentage on top. It's especially interesting when there's a huge empty space right there that does not get used by any of the icons. You see that I got Bluetooth and ringtone icon there, which doesn't get to be shown there. It seems like a huge waste of space. And one more thing, it's got fingerprint reader on the back, and there is no fingerprint reader gesture. Most of the devices with the rear fingerprint reader has this feature, and some of LG's its own, some of the cheaper phones have it, but LG decided not to include it on their flagship. Another missing or broken feature is a scroll capture. Yes, you can use the Q Memo Plus from the status bar, and there is an extended scroll capture, but it only works in so many apps. It doesn't even work on Google Play Store, it's simply disabled. There's a game tools like Samsung Galaxy devices, but you can only take screenshots but not record the game. And there's no native full screen mode for video, so while you can do this on YouTube or Netflix or some apps that natively support it, you cannot stretch it to full screen on the apps that do not have such function. There's so little consideration for screen mirroring as well. Most of us have 16:9 ratio TVs. So on the Galaxy devices, there's an option to switch the phone resolution to 16:9 so it fits on TV. But there's no such option on the G7 ThinQ. So when you watch a 16:9 ratio content on your 19:9 ratio G7 ThinQ and mirror that to a 16:9 ratio TV, there's a thick frame around the screen on your TV, and you're losing a large portion of the content. There's still no native Wi-Fi direct client, so you have to install a third-party one. And the button right here is locked to Google Assistant. You cannot change it to other functions. You can disable it though. Perhaps one good thing is there's an audio path selector, so you can play audio to your speaker without disconnecting your Bluetooth headset. Talking about audio, there's a 3.5mm headphone jack on the bottom. I like it a lot. And of course there's a quad DAC, and it sounds really, really nice. And it's got an equalizer that works on any app, although there's no custom mode. And it's got DTS:X 3D surround that you can choose from wide front and side to side, though it works only with the earphones and wasn't too impressive. And another thing that wasn't impressive is the speaker. It's got a boombox speaker is what they call it. The rear panel vibrates, so you can put your phone on top of an object and it's gonna vibrate with that object to make the sound deeper and louder at the same time. The problem is I watch stuff more on my phone than I listen to music and play music for the other people at the parties. So when I am holding the phone like this, my hand does not vibrate, so you cannot take advantage of the boombox speaker mode. And the phone's got one mono speaker at the bottom that doesn't sound that good, but then it keeps on trying to vibrate through the back panel, so it gets annoying when I'm watching it holding like this. I would have preferred a normal stereo speaker much better. Next up is a camera that you can launch by the icon right there or by tapping the volume down key twice. And the camera quality is, say, interesting. Under brighter daylight, the photos are okay, as they should be with the 2018 flagship. However, under the lower lighting condition, camera blurs just about everything. That's why they included the super bright mode, which takes brighter photos but sacrifices resolution and again blurs pretty much everything. So possibly every single details are lost. As always, there is wide angle camera, so you can take wider angle photos unlike other phones with the 2x zoom, and it's 2018, so there is portrait mode. The portrait bokeh is okay, it's not amazing, it's not bad, it's just about average, but the AI cam that recognizes objects or the scenes and chooses the right mode automatically doesn't work that well. It doesn't recognize well, and even when it does, the modes that it chose doesn't turn out with the best result. I mean, if it really was that good, they would have chosen AI cam as a default mode, or they would have given an option to make it a default option. But no, you have to tap the AI cam option every time you want to give that a try. I think there's a good reason for that. What's better is the selfie cam. It's not the best, but far better than the V30's 5-megapixel one. It's brighter, takes okay photos, and there's a good portrait mode right there that works pretty nicely, but it has to be a person. You can't do it for an object or an animal. Oh, and just my personal thing. V30 had the shutter button slightly off center, but this one is now back on the center. I like it. And now to the battery. It's got 3000 milliamps of battery. That doesn't sound sufficient, especially that it's got an LCD panel rather than a power-efficient OLED panel. It's not that bad. It lasts up to 5 hours of screen on time in my daily usage. It's based on LTE network, so if you use the Wi-Fi network more often, then the results are gonna be better. 5 hours of screen on time isn't bad, isn't good. I would say it's just about acceptable. It's going to last you through an entire day, but no longer than that. Charging is done through the USB Type-C port on the bottom. It supports quick charge standards and takes about surprisingly long 2 hours and 10 minutes. I don't know why, but that's the result. It also supports fast wireless charging that's going to take 3.5 hours. That really doesn't sound fast, but that's how they call it. And that's all the details on the G7 ThinQ, and here we go with the verdict. G7 ThinQ isn't a bad phone. It's pretty well built, it's mil-spec, it's sturdy, it's got an okay screen, okay camera, but competition is pretty stiff. Galaxy S9 has amazing cameras. Compared to that, low lighting photos and details of that is definitely a lot worse. And what about the speaker? Both iPhones and Galaxies have stereo speakers, but this one is mono and doesn't even sound that good. Battery life is somewhat mediocre, software is definitely behind. I really don't see any part that the G7 ThinQ is better than competition. So there's that, and this thing isn't particularly cheaper than the competition, at least now it isn't. So unless you really want to avoid Samsung and Apple, I don't see much reason why you want to choose G7 ThinQ over other competition like the Galaxy S9, S9 Plus, or the iPhone 10, or the iPhone 8 Plus even. So that was the LG G7 ThinQ. It's not bad, but it's not enough. It's not enough at all, especially the software and the speaker. Thank you always for watching. If you have any questions, please do leave them down in the comments. You can always meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. We'll see you guys later. Ciao.